welcome to Paradigm Cloud Consulting's Data Speaks webinar series. Hey, today we're going to do a deep dive into the cloud data marketplace. I'm Chris Gately, Chief Revenue Officer at Paradigm, your moderator for today's discussion, and calling in from beautiful and rainy Scottsdale, Arizona. Please join me in welcoming two experts in the field of cloud data and marketplace. From Snowflake, data marketplace expert Tobin Benyon, and Paradigm's Cloud Consulting's Snowflake practice leader, Jerry Locke. Tobin, you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So Tobin Benyon, I've been at Snowflake for coming up on 4 years. I was in a direct sales role when our sales leadership came and asked me to help start our data marketplace team. And I've been in this position for about 2 years. And so I live data marketplace every day. So really excited to be here.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tobin. Jerry, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Jerry Locke, been a two-time customer of Snowflake, started very early. Former employee of Snowflake as well. So joined there for about 1.5 years. I love cloud data. I've been doing it for better half of about 10 years, mostly moving to corporations to the cloud. And I'm excited to talk about data sharing because it's a really strong proponent of the cloud.
Excellent. Thanks, Jerry. Pleasure to have a nice fireside kind of chat with you guys today, and looking forward to diving deeper into this great topic. You know, the first topic we're going to hit on is what is a data marketplace and the trends that are going on in the data marketplace. You know, by definition, the data marketplace is an online exchange where you can buy and sell data, both consumers and producers, leveraging the power of that data from various sources, markets, monetizing the data to improve decision making. This includes data pertaining to business intelligence, personal information, demographics, advertising, research, and marketing. For example, you know, the Google data marketplace, which is offered through their Google BigQuery licenses, allows users to access data provided by partners such as Dow Jones, AccuWeather, Google Maps, Ignite. And then what they can do is they can use that data to help either augment their data and incorporate with their data, or make better decisions through their data analysis. You know, some of the trends in this area, I'm sure you guys have seen, especially Snowflake being the leader in this area. But according to Gartner, 80% of companies fail to monetize their data. Being a good consultant and working with a lot of the Fortune 500 companies out there, I think Jerry, myself, and probably Toby can also attest to that. At 80% really do fail to monetize that data. But with the marketplace, that enables the opportunity to monetize that data plus additional data. Gartner also estimates that by this year, public cloud services like Marketplace will drive 90% of the data and analytics innovation. That's pretty impressive. Accenture Research estimates that by 2030, over 1 million organizations worldwide will monetize their data sets, unlocking more than 3.6 trillion in value. Those are some impressive trends, and those are some impressive numbers. Tobin, Snowflake is a leader in the data marketplace. Maybe you could start off first telling us about your offering, how you guys have gone about it. You obviously built the marketplace there at Snowflake, so you know firsthand. And then if you could kind of dive into, what are the challenges you're seeing that businesses are facing in deriving value from the marketplace?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chris. So going back just real briefly to touch on our offering, simply put, Snowflake at its core is an analytical database. So there are databases designed for many different use cases, many different optimizations for jobs to be done. But Snowflake's is that of analytics. So our customers use us to bring all of their data into one place to derive value from it. And that's really what differentiates our marketplace from others. So because we have this best-in-class, I'm biased, but I'll call it best-in-class data platform, or this data analytical database, we really are excited about this idea that customers, not only can they bring in their own first-party operational data that they own, but they can then augment that with other valuable data sources to enrich their data and get even more value out of it. And so, yeah, we when we started to pursue this idea of a data cloud, building out a data marketplace was really key to that, and eliminating data silos and bringing all of your data and all of your data operations under one roof, Snowflake. So excited about that. Moving on to your second question on how, what are the challenges that I see businesses facing, is that it's just that. So data is hard, right? Like, you have to clean your data, you have to understand your data, you have to compile it from all of these many different sources. And so I see a lot of organizations that are struggling just to get, value out of their own data, let alone finding and sourcing third-party data. And so I think that's really where Snowflake can come in and help. Just to give you a quick maybe analogy, if you think about a supermarket, if it has everything in the world, but it's out in the desert, nobody's going to get value out of it. The best way to think about Snowflake's data marketplace is we're bringing that supermarket right into your kitchen. Not only can you go and grab all the ingredients you need to make, an amazing meal, but it's right there, and then it's right there in your kitchen. So that's what's amazing. We're bringing the data to your analytical database, so you can acquire data and incorporate that into your first-party data to really maximize the value that you're getting from both your first-party data and third-party data options.
That's fantastic. Thanks. Thank you, sir. Jerry, how about the technical team supporting the business? What are their challenges in these areas?
I think when we talk about traditional methods, with sending FTP and sending drives back and forth, I'll use Tobin's analogy about the supermarkets, like going to all these different supermarkets, specialize in one area, going to one area, going around, having multiple silos, without getting too much of these very well-known risks in these traditional methods. Let's instead focus on the ability of the cloud, right? A lot of these cloud native applications, cloud native databases were specifically made around the cloud. It's also touted as being elastic and scalable. That's what everybody knows that. But what is really not known, and not really something that people focus on, is that it's more secure and it offers the ability to break down traditional methods and exchanges in the marketplace. I'm sure we'll discuss this in a lot of details, but there are large companies right now that are specifically living and profiting off of these exchanges, making large decisions. COVID is an example, right? If you think about all the things that decision-making that has to go on with everything that's impacted us all, it's decisions that are made real-time and live. And I know of several examples where they're using this live data to make decisions in leveraging sharing to do that.
No, that's great. Thanks, Jerry. The three things I took away from that, gentlemen, for really what are the trends and what are the challenges that folks are seeing is, I love the fact, Tobin, that you identified that, people are able to take their own data, in their own transactional data, their own, all types of data, and really augment it with that valuable data that's out there. And I'm sure we'll get into some examples. That supermarket example, living in the desert, supermarkets are rather important. And the way you both really described how they come together, a really, really good example of how that marketplace can enable things from enable my decisioning and the decisioning of our customers from one place as opposed to having to go to many. And then the secure component is another key component. We'll dig into a couple of those as we hit a couple more topics here. But let's go to the next topic. What are the reasons for the emergence of the data marketplace? In an open marketplace, both consumers and producers join in a free exchange with the purpose to make data instantly available and more readily available. As there's been significant growth, it may have a direct impact with the process of how folks leverage data in the data exchange, and it influences the price and quality of the data. Marketplaces enable buyers to be more selective about what they buy. They don't have to buy everything they can buy. As we stay on the supermarket analogy, I can buy the organic bananas instead of every other banana, for example. Tell me, Tobin, providing buyers with greater choice promotes, higher quality data, allows for competition, encourages fair pricing between sellers. What successes, use cases, and business drivers are you seeing folks capitalize on, and what are they missing?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. So I'd first point out that there's something really interesting happening in the industry today. And one is that people are starting to realize the value of data more than ever, right? There's that old cliche saying that data is the new oil. And I think that people are starting, we're finally starting to get the tools in place like a Snowflake to start realizing the value that data can provide. The second is with the increase and opportunity that data presents, there's also a lot of privacy and security concerns. And so with both of those things, both of those kind of themes emerging into the industry, I think that's really why we are seeing the emergence of data marketplaces, especially one within Snowflake. Again, I'm biased, but I think Snowflake is the easiest, most seamless, and safest place to share data with, or to acquire data. We were talking with a large retailer just the other day, and they have 112 data sources that they're trying to where they acquire data from. And so the ability to, if you can just think about that, managing data pipelines and acquisition for 112 vendors, bringing that into a marketplace and allowing customers to do all of their data acquisition, not only to find all of the different components that they need, but also delivering that in a very secure manner is a very powerful thing. And so the thing that I would offer here is that I think data marketplaces are here to stay, again, because we offer a variety of valuable data sources in a very secure way. But then I would say that wherever you are in your journey of third-party data acquisition, you may be great at that. I think the marketplace is a fantastic tool for you. If you're just starting off and you need somebody like a Paradigm to come and help you really think through your data strategy and how you're going to incorporate your first-party data with your third-party data, again, I think that's an amazing option as well to really have a really cohesive data strategy, how you're going to use a marketplace, and having somebody like a Paradigm really bridge that gap into how you can use this data or these ingredients, so to speak, to help solve business challenges is a really powerful thing and something that a marketplace can really help you with.
That's great. Thank you, Tobin. Hey, Jerry, what is the Paradigm Information Data Exchange, and how does it accelerate collaboration without, that costly and cumbersome user provisioning or training burden? Is there a collaboration solution that is easy and intuitive to keep everybody more engaged?
Sure. Snowflake calls the offerings that they have, they call everything under the data cloud, right? While the term is more focused from a Snowflake perspective, it can be applied to all our hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, GCP. We at Paradigm like looking at this call it the data cloud journey, right? That data cloud journey can bring you to all different clouds in certain degrees, right? Our approach is really, with agnostic being in mind, really trying to focus on what your drivers are, what drives the marketplace. It depends on your company, right? How you want to look at that marketplace, what the importance and the emergence of the data to make decisions. Large institutions, large companies, large financial companies are using data sharing as well. So we can really help you right size, understand where you're at, and then bring you into the journey when it makes sense within all the hyperscalers. We love Snowflake, right? I love Snowflake. I'm definitely biased, but when I look at it from Azure, AWS, if you think about AWS's website, a lot of it's running on the share environments, right? Netflix, a lot of large companies have to share in order to do what they do. So we can help you on that journey. We like looking at it agnostically, and we really want to focus on where you are in that journey.
Got it. No, thanks, Jerry. Guys, the three things I just took away from that were really, one is to, I love the fact that Tobin, you mentioned that data is the new oil. There's so many different purposes and uses for oil itself, right? So it's great to look at that from an analogy. I guess we're staying with supermarkets as well, because oil's also in supermarkets. Anyway, the retailer pipeline that you identified with 112 third-party providers, that's a lot to manage. And if you can centralize that and standardize that through one process, that is fantastic. And Jerry, your comment about the cloud, right? You're right. It's a journey, the journey, not only the cloud journey, but the marketplace adoption journey. And how do you take advantage of the best that everybody has to offer, with the Snowflake obviously leading the way? Hey guys, let's switch to another topic. How can Snowflake Data Marketplace expand the target and the value to an audience over things like kind of do it yourself? You know, many of the audience here, their organizations may gather and analyze first-party data from websites, from other sources. They also purchase data or collect data through email lists, social media, CRM, B2B, and other accounts. You know, the data is mapped using data mapping, and an exchange of the data takes place, but the marketplace just offers so much more. You know, maybe Tobin, you can shed some light. What are folks missing as, you know, as data rendering is only kind of a fraction of the available information about potential, you know, the potential audience? And tell us how Snowflake enables a user beyond kind of, you know, doing it yourself. What role does audience enrichment and clean rooms really play too?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the topic that's near and dear to my heart. So first of all, I think we need to acknowledge that there are some really challenging headwinds in the industry of advertising and marketing, specifically speaking about the move to a cookieless world. And so I'm not an expert in that industry per se, but you know, when you're on websites, you often will have to go and accept the cookies so that they can kind of track your usage. And then there are companies out there that help use that will then help use that to and sell kind of offerings to brands to help target advertisements to you. But as you can imagine, like if you eliminate those cookies, that becomes a lot scarier. So and that's where I think, again, Snowflake can add tremendous value. So for just a couple of topics, you know, no matter how great you are at collecting data on, you know, on your customers, there's always more out there that's really valuable. So again, the idea that you can incorporate credit information, right? So to help you segment your audiences, you can also, you know, buy things like lifestyle information. So there is just a wealth of data that you can acquire about your potential customers and prospects that will help you really, not only will it help you expand your target audiences, but it will also help you target them more effectively with, you know, relevant offers at the right time, you know, kind of the promise of a customer 360. Yeah, so what I just mentioned there is what we call enrichment. So you can enrich your customer profiles directly in Snowflake with many of our data providers, and again, get more valuable information so you can be more targeted. Another big one is identity. So the idea that, you know, somebody can you know, log on and look at you through your website, and you can, you know, make them an offer, and then they come into your store and purchase something. And so it's a really complex problem with your online kind of identity with, you know, mobile IDs or your web browser, you know, things like that. But then having somebody come into your store. And so Snowflake and our marketplace can really help you. Not only can we help you target your, you know, audience and expand your audience, but we can also help you with measurement. And so looking at who, as you know, seen many of your, you know, ad impressions, but then is going into stores, and so it can help with the kind of the end-to-end measurement and attribution. And then the last topic that I'll get into that Chris mentioned was clean rooms. And again, so in this idea of a cookieless world where people are starting to manage and the idea that people are starting to manage their own first-party data more and more. Snowflake's data sharing capabilities and our clean room allows multiple parties to share data in a very secure and privacy compliant way. And so people can share data to enrich your customers without them ever having to know who your customers are. And so again, this is a huge win for consumers and their privacy. It's a huge win for brands who are able to, again, really go and start managing their you know, customer graphs, but also allowing them to get the relevant information they need to build out those customer profiles and expand target audiences and target them more effectively, again, with the right offers at the right time, things like that.
That totally makes sense. Thanks, Tobin. Jerry, how does Paradigm Data Exchange, you know, help map shared data and provide the ROI that, you know, folks are looking for from?
Absolutely. You know, let me just preface this. It's great information, clean rooms. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I think every company has sharing, right? They're sharing, whether it be an FTP server, like we said, traditional methods. I think from a business perspective, the traditional ways of doing it from an ROI is completely different than an ROI from a cloud, right? I just think it's not comparable. It's just much easier, less time consuming, less expensive. There's a lot that you have to do when it comes to it. When I talk about expense, it's not just the cloud expense. It's hiring that person to bring the FTP server. It's the expense of the risk that they didn't encrypt it in the right areas, right? When we talk about security, I don't think it's bad to say it's the humans that are the biggest problems here, right? And as we add humans there, it makes it a lot more difficult. Our agnostic approach can leverage across hyperscalers, much similar to the way Snowflake is using data sharing, right, within hyperscalers. You can also share things like when you share things with auditors or you share things with security groups. Again, this is happening right now. You may not be using sharing. In fact, many SIM systems now are leveraging the cloud data for security data lakes and even lakehouse approaches. So you're ingesting, back to the Kimball method, if you're as old as I am, and been in the databases as long as I am, single version of the truth, right? You want everything in one area. If you're really looking at that lakehouse approach, where Kimball and Inman are really focused on trying to bring all the data there, the ROIs for these initiatives are staggering, and they're growing every day, right? We want to understand where you are in that data cloud journey. We want to give you an agnostic approach, and we want to work with you guys to try to figure out where you are and how you can leverage this. There's a lot of ways you can skip steps, but you have to really look at security in mind, right? You really have to understand that, and we can help you.
No, you guys brought up some really great points, and the ability to, leverage that ROI against the clean rooms, and the ability to, get value out of that data as while you're also anonymizing it is a key piece. In the cookieless world, it should be an interesting place to live, especially for our marketing friends. Let's go to the next topic. Who needs a data exchange, and how does adopting benefit them? The marketplace is a vital resource for you if you're a publisher, marketer, or an agency. This is because you don't have enough first-party data to make, campaign decisions. With a data exchange network, you can get the information you need to maximize your strategy and move forward with confidence. Tobin, how do folks with internal and external agencies, marketers, publishers get to maximize the results on a Snowflake marketplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so kind of going back to the clean room and everything that I've mentioned so far on kind of expanding target audiences, it's a complex process with a lot of different parties involved. And so I would say that, anybody that's looking to kind of really deliver on a more sophisticated kind of targeting or advertising strategy, I think a data exchange makes sense. So kind of, again, just looking at the jobs to be done, not only do you need to kind of manage your customer graph and make sure that you have all of the relevant information. Again, there's a host of different partners that can help you really do that and build out that graph. But then you need to have the ability to kind of analyze and segment. But then once you break it down into those these different audiences or segments, you then will need to go and activate that and go and kind of really market towards those people. And then after you run those marketing campaigns or advertisements, then you're going to want to measure and to really understand how you do. And so again, there's really, several steps to this process and a lot of different stakeholders and players involved. And so again, the ability to manage your own data exchange and coordinate across all of those different parties. And again, while protecting privacy and making sure that your data and your data assets are all secure is really, really important. And again, I think a data exchange is really helpful and beneficial towards driving that kind of that vision forward.
Yeah, and driving a vision forward is really the key there, right? And so, Jerry, how does Paradigm drive new ways of thinking in providing advisory and implementation service with regard to the data exchange?
Sure. I think like I said earlier, every company is data sharing, whether it's the new way, old way, hybrid way. The only difference is to what degree, right? Depending on your transformation, where you are in that journey. We're here to help you with that cloud journey. Right, we at Paradigm want to help you adopt an approach that it has quick wins. less overhead, and it moves at a scale and a rate that your company can use and leverage. All these great technologies, you talk about sharing and you talk about clean rooms, double blind clean rooms, how those things work. If you think about it from a technical perspective, you really couldn't do that anything outside of the cloud. The cloud allows you to have that security, allows you to really understand it. And having worked in many organizations and as a former customer myself, as well as an employee, the adoption is exponential once you actually start. So don't be too afraid, right? Think about it from a perspective of once you bring your data to cloud, or as you start to bring your data to cloud, how do you share that information with all the different ways you start to leverage it? We have a lot of skills internally. We can help you. We can help you understand where you are in there and start to map you in a way that makes it more consumable, right? You can start to bring in your resources, start to bring in other things that will really help you adopt this strategy that won't allow you that will allow you to be successful moving forward.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Hey guys, let's switch to strategies that organizations are leveraging as they build these. Data exchanges, are kind of redefining how companies acquire, how they leverage, and how monetize data to power business to improve their ecosystems. To discover which data exchange strategy fits them best, what do you guys, the experts, recommend? I mean, at Snowflake, Tobin, what are your thoughts about how to avoid, the pitfalls as many enterprises are moving towards, AI and self-driven analytics? What strategies are people deploying around the data exchange world?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. There are two points that I would really kind of mention on this question. So the first is I feel like many organizations are still in this position where they're just trying to consolidate all of their data into one place, and that's a large lift. And so the idea that Snowflake can help you do that and do that effectively is one thing. So kind of getting beyond messing with data pipelines and all the different data silos out there, using a data platform like Snowflake, taking advantage of the data marketplace to really ease that burden and consolidating all of your data into one place is one of the first steps. The ability to then stitch that data together. So using stitch that data together and make that again, bringing all of that data together in a way that makes sense is really important. And then the second one is then cleaning that data in a way so it's simply put, eliminating data silos, bringing all of your data together in one place, and then cleaning that data. And I feel like companies are often stuck battling those two issues, so they're not ever fully able to deliver on this promise of self-service analytics or machine learning. And so if you can get ahead of the curve and on top of data silos and clean data, those are the two keys that I see.
A really great point, Tobin. Jerry, what about Paradigm? How does Paradigm orchestrate a data exchange strategy?
Yeah, so we have a lot of expertise in how the RBAC framework works within Snowflake. We also have a lot of expertise on how things work within our hyperscalers. So when you think about how we deal with security, how we deal with how your data quality, we are well positioned to not only understand your needs now, but how to build for that, right? Getting a clean room, getting any of your data quality issues, it's an evolution. We can really understand where you're at in that evolution and start to help you get to that point, right? With different checks, with different proof of concepts, we can start to really give you the model for adoption.
That's great. It reminds me of, I don't know, Jerry, if you remember, we did a white paper recently on ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And that really was a derivative of working with one of our Fortune 500 companies and talking with them about their strategy, about how do they take advantage of all this ESG data out there. And when we partnered with Snowflake and Levi and the team to talk through this, really what we found is that, the wealth management team and the wholesale team were all out subscribing to about 6 or 7 sources of ESG data that they can compare and contrast the companies that they're lending to or investing in, lending to on the wholesale side, investing in on the wealth and investment management side. But by looking at Snowflake as the center point for all that, they can eliminate all of those one-off contracts, actually take it into Snowflake's marketplace and take advantage of the 40, I think it's 2+ sources that Snowflake has in their marketplace for ESG data, which is, a great strategy of how you can obviously really impact your ROI, impact the availability of the data, impact the ability to take advantage of marrying that with your own data. So just a great example of that Snowflake paradigm strategy and how a customer came together on it.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's jump to another topic. Data is the most treasured asset, right? But it is only the most treasured asset if you're able to monetize it. As going back to that Gartner comment about only 80% of companies don't monetize their data. Becoming a data-driven enterprise starts with a shift in mindset. It's time to move from siloed, this is my data, you can't have my data, proprietary, and a retrospective approach to a unified, available, and answer-oriented model. In other words, data and the intelligence that comes from that data must be the central focus of your business. Tobin, global businesses spend billions a year on data. However, what aspects of monetization are you seeing and that impact, whether it be their increased revenue, reduced reduction of cost, similar, I guess, to that example I just gave?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think about that question, I think there's a maturity curve here. So kind of on the front end of that, there's the idea that you have a particular data set, and you understand that you believe or think that this data can provide value. And so finding, really just figuring out how to package that data, how to price that data, how to do that effectively. So generally what we're seeing right now in trends in the marketplace are we're engaging with a lot of brands that realize they have a ton of data and that data can be valuable to other people. And so they're really thinking about this as a kind of a new business opportunity, a new revenue line, and they're excited about exploring that. And they're kind of in the initial phases of that. It's not their core competency, yet they're sitting on valuable data and they're interested in what they can do with that. On the other end of the kind of the maturity curve, you have data companies that have been, in the industry for decades and decades. They have, more well-defined products. They understand how to price it. And they're really just trying to figure out how to deliver this and save costs. And so in both instances, Snowflake and the data marketplace make a lot of sense for those traditional data, data sellers. We help kind of streamline and offer kind of data delivery at scale. But I think the question was more geared towards the other brands that are really interested in dipping their toe. And so again, Snowflake's position on this is that we like those people to really work with partners like folks like Paradigm to really think about how they can execute a strategy like this. But we do believe that Snowflake is an amazing option for people that are looking to get into the monetization game. And again, it starts with really trying to understand creating those products and figuring out a pricing strategy and really packaging this together.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, I think, we talked a lot about sharing from a marketplace perspective, but let's not forget that when you share, you can also secure share. It doesn't have to be in a marketplace. Think about supplier demands and think about demands from your own company. I know we're talking about large companies. We're talking about financial institutions, maybe even some of the things that are happening with BlackRock and how Snowflake works in those environments with ESG. I know you talked about as well. Those are all fascinating, but if you're not, the large companies, large financial companies, you might not see the benefit until you get there. So I think, even sharing within your suppliers, even sharing and how you share, start to really question how you're doing things. If you're still doing things by FTP, give us a call, right? Let's give you some options, right? If you're still sending drives back and forth, as crazy as it is, I know people that are still doing it. They don't like it. Let's fix it. Let's help you get there, right? Let's help you get to the point where you can actually have some data on the cloud and start to do that. So I think, it's great when we talk about these grandiose ideas about clean rooms. Those are implementations that are fantastic, but let's get you there in steps, if that makes sense, Chris.
No, it totally makes sense, Jerry. I mean, you're right. It's not just for the grandiose company; it's for every company that has data. And how do they get really change that mindset from, hey, is this is data costing me money? Well, data's really not costing me money. It's enabling me and can enable all your decisions much better. And
Yeah.
we've talked about really, where the data marketplace is today, how people are, where people are in that, level of adoption and maturity, as Tobin mentioned. But look, what's the future? Like, what's next? What in 20, let's say 2026, 2020, 2030, Tobin, what does Snowflake see as the future of the marketplace and data?
Yeah, this is a question that gets me really excited for a number of reasons. One, I think Snowflake is very differentiated in this regard, and two, I think that the things that people are going to be able to do with data are just going to be extreme. We're going to finally start to see some of the promise that that have always been made by that people have believed in data. So there's two things. One, I think monetization of data is going to become a much better understood, it's going to mature. So people acquiring third-party data, how they integrate that into their first-party data, kind of business models and pricing models, all of those things are going to mature. And again, this is something that we're investing in heavily at Snowflake. The second point that I would offer here is I would argue even a little bit bigger. And so today, when people think about data marketplaces, they think simply about data, right? They're going to acquire just pure data or raw data or whatever it is. And that's what they're looking for. But in the near future, you're going to hear a lot of really interesting coming out of Snowflake of this idea of data services. And so we're really going to expand the idea of what a data marketplace is and go beyond just data. And so what I mean by data services is you'll have people that can, that we'll have providers in our marketplace that will be able to perform logic or applications on top of data that sits in your account. So really to extend that marketplace analogy a little bit further, if we're bringing the marketplace to your kitchen and you're ready to make dinner, not only are we selling you the onion that you can go grab out of the marketplace in your kitchen, but we might have a provider that will chop that onion up for you. So they're not necessarily providing the onion, they're going to provide some value add service on top of that data. And so when you think about combining data with data services and data applications all tied together seamlessly in one environment, I just think that the opportunities are really, really, there's just a lot of potential there that gets me really amped up.
Yeah.
Amped up. What a very apropos name with the recent book by your CEO. Great book, by the way.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jerry?
I think, by that time we'll have humans in Mars. Like, it's going to be crazy, right? We think about that, but I think data is going to drive all of it. And I think what's really important is how, when you think about machine learning, AI, all these things that we're talking about, it's great conversations to talk about security because it's really important, right? But I think it's going to be even more important as we move forward, right? It doesn't get less important. You're not going to get less data. You're going to get more. I don't want to make you scared. But the growth is even going to be more exponential than we previously received. So when we talk about machine learning, they're going to get smarter because they're going to have better data. I'll use Tobin's analogy, right? The onion, you might be selling of onions. In that example, you might be selling onion soup, right? You could be making something on top of that. And you might not think that today, an onion maker is going to be doing onion soup. It could be a viable option because the data shows you that, right? The things that are there. And I think it's going to be a quintessential part of your company. And, just don't fear it, accept it, and try to move on, right? And let us help you.
That's a great point, Jerry, of let us help you, and that, where this is really going to go, especially when you start applying AI to it. I, as Tobin was identifying, I prefer to have a sous chef who cuts up my onions ahead of time if I'm cooking, and, does the mirepoix and other things, right? That I can put.
No one wants to cry, right? Yeah.
Together, right? Exactly. Nobody likes to cry. So the opportunity is just going to continue to grow at an exponential factor, as you both were identifying. No, that's fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you. This has been great. We do have a couple of quick questions before I jump into just some kind of next steps. Well, according to the audience here, what I see is, uh, what if the data I work with has sensitive information is one of the questions. So I guess one of the folks out there is working with data has sensitive implications, and they can obviously expose it in a large marketplace to everybody in the world, or maybe it needs encryption. But what are your guys' thought on, what if the data they work with has sensitive information? Tobin, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts there. And so Snowflake has both a public marketplace, but we also have this, like Jerry mentioned, we also have this idea of just direct shares. So not all of this has to be exposed publicly through our public marketplace. And we do have a lot of kind of individual sharing, kind of one-off, one-to-one relationships. In fact, this is actually a very appropriate picture. If you look at that image there, that's kind of a representation of the data sharing network that is being built within Snowflake. And so each of those blue dots represents a Snowflake account, and each of those lines represents a data sharing relationship. So in the middle, you can see many of our public marketplace data providers creating kind of clusters. But on the edges, it's kind of a lot more of that one-to-one sharing. So back to the question of kind of sensitive data, we do have tools to help mask data, to de-identify data. We also work with many people that will aggregate data to really preserve kind of the sensitivity and privacy. And again, maybe you are comfortable with sharing a lot of your private data just with specific people and relationships. And so what I would say there is Snowflake is a very flexible tool. We work with people with very sensitive data, and we have a lot of options in regards to maintaining the security and privacy of that data, because that is of the utmost importance. And again, whether that's in the public-facing marketplace or whether it's a more private share on a one-to-one basis, we can definitely help handle and facilitate that.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's a great question. I
Sorry,
think, with PII and how people look at PII, it's interesting, zip code, depending on what place in the world you live in, it could be considered PII. And if you're not in a different state, it could be. So it can be pretty complicated when we talk about the definition of PII. And I think that Snowflake does a really good job of allowing you to apply it to where it needs to be applied, and then apply it as it starts to evolve and change. PII is something that's not going to change. It's going to get more restrictive. Everybody realizes that. GDPR was an implementation of that. California has its own different type. So I think Snowflake does a really good job, but all the hyperscalers do that, right? GCP, and we can help you understand which one is more cost beneficial to your company, and really help you understand which one might be the right one now or might be the right one in the future. Snowflake does a great job of doing it across all platforms. And they do a pretty good job of doing that from a GDPR and PI perspective. But it's an important question, and we'd love to help you with that.
That's great. Thank you, gentlemen. Hey, another question is how should my organization go about identifying use cases for this marketplace? Jerry, you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. I mean, without sounding too presumptuous, and get with SIs, get like us. Don't think that you need to figure it out all on your own, right? I don't think it's a bad statistic thinking 80% is unsuccessful in monetizing data. I think it's really, you put it in because somebody says you need to, or you need to get to the data on the cloud because someone put you there. We can help you understand your why and evolve that why with you, right? I think at Paradigm, that agnostic approach really helps you understand where you're at and then bring you on that journey, right? Advance you when you can, right? And help you where we possibly can. So I think number one, as a former customer, asking help is always, it's the hardest thing to do sometimes, but it's probably the best one in this example, because you don't want to do something that you might regret down the road. So really ask questions, ask us. I'm always accessible. Ask, Google, ask everybody, ask everybody you can, because you're going to get a different answer and we can help you with that.
That's a great point. Tobin, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think exactly what Jerry said. So I think the first and most important thing is to really identify the business outcome that you're looking to achieve, whether that's increasing your lead scoring or reducing risk, and so again, starting with the business outcome that you're looking to achieve, and then from there, what ingredients do you need or could you potentially look at to help you? And I couldn't agree more. Engage folks like Paradigm, who have a lot of experience of really bridging the gap from, again, the raw the data sources and helping translate those into really valuable business needs. Last thing I'll say is Snowflake is absolutely focused on this. We are in our marketplace, we are helping folks categorize by business needs and business outcomes so that you can search. So you're not searching for data per se, but you're searching for business initiatives. And then we're also aligning by industry. So kind of putting together, organizing our data and our solutions and our services by industry so we can really help you with that. But yeah, I couldn't agree more on that point of help. First, identifying the business outcome and utilizing folks that are really experienced in kind of helping you bridge those two things, those two concepts.
Fantastic. Thanks, gentlemen. Hey, gentlemen, we've covered a lot of the topics here. We've covered a lot of bases. I think we're a little bit over on time, but I just kind of want to recap quickly, and that is, we've covered everything from what is a data marketplace, how is Snowflake approaching that, what are the strategies people should adopt to on their journey of this data marketplace adoption, what are some of the challenges and pitfalls people fall in, and then what is the future, where is it going to go next, right? And you both have done a phenomenal job of representing that and getting some people to think about what's going on. So some of the folks are probably saying, hey, what's next? Well, on the screen here, you'll see a couple of thoughts on what's next. Jerry, myself, Tobin, and some other folks at Snowflake are just off a 4-day workshop with one of our largest domain registry companies in the country, helping them figure out how do they approach Snowflake, especially with some key eccentricities they have, but Snowflake's impacts very, very effectively. But that's one thing. So one thing is a workshop to dig into how you can use Snowflake and adopt it. Second one is if you've got Snowflake currently, what's the maturity assessment? How are you on your maturity of Snowflake adoption, and how do you next get to the marketplace to really add value to the data that you've already got, that you've already used within Snowflake? A business impact workshop, working with the business, say, hey, how can more data or the marketplace data really impact the decisions they're making? Similar to the ESG example I gave, or the retailer example Tobin gave of 112 sources. What is the value of bringing that data together and exposing that data, incorporating it with your own? There's some stuff that we can, Snowflake and Paradigm can help you with. Last but not least, what about a demo? We're more than happy to demonstrate the marketplace itself and our Paradigm's marketplace for you and dig into those details. So please reach out to us. You'll find a URL at the end of this, and we're ready to help you on this journey, because it really is a journey, and the impact of the journey and getting there faster. And you do that by getting there faster by leveraging folks like Snowflake and Paradigm. So we're really looking forward to helping you through that journey. Again, gentlemen, you guys are experts in your field. Thank you very much for all the time and commitment you've taken here to express your views and thoughts to the audience. And hope everybody has a fantastic week and fantastic day.
Yeah,
thank you all.
Fun. Thanks, guys.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.